Hi, today we're going to go ahead and make our journal, our small journal for our garden box. Now, I'm not making a garden box, I'm making a coloring box for our little girl. So I've gone ahead and printed some coloring pages and then I left some blank for her to draw. So our last video we went ahead and I showed you how to go ahead and sew your signatures into your inner spine. So I hope you have that finished. And we also covered the outer spine, and you can do it with fabric, you don't have to. It's okay if it's just paper. It's just a softer spine. It gives a little more. The other thing that we did is we cut our chipboard for our covers, and they are 5.5 inches wide and 6.5 inches tall. So when we go to cover these, if you're using a paper or like I am that has a direction, I guess it goes like that, you'll want to be aware of that. If there's no direction to it, it doesn't matter. So I've gone ahead and I've cut 2 pieces of paper for my cover, and I'm going to show you how we do one cover. I also have my corner tool. I like this as a librarian. It's a really handy tool. Okay, so I'm trying to get that as close to my workspace as I can. You're going to need your glue also. So I want to make sure that I'm covering the 5.5 by 6. Now my paper is directional, and this is just, it looks like almost like Pangea. This is the south and this is the north. It's actually a different world. It's Pangea than what we have today. So, but I see that my balloons are, the tops are this way and the bottoms are down this way. So I'm going to turn it so that it's just like that, remembering that that's my top, that's my bottom. And I want to go ahead and take my chipboard and, oh, I have a needle. Let me, hoofta. I'm going to put that right there. Okay, so I want to make sure that I'm going to lay it down with the 5.5 inch going up. Well, the 6 inch actually going up and the 5.5 coming across. So I'm going to go ahead and put glue on the outside edges and then all inside of my chipboard. And chipboard soaks up a little bit more glue than paper, so I'm trying to make it just a little bit tighter than I do on regular cardstock. And then I'm going to flip it. And I'm going to try and get it as close to the center of everything as I can. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to use the warmth of my hand to get it down, and then I'm going to go use my bone folder to get the rest spread out a little bit. Now, if you have this tool, that's really nice. It will help you to make your corners bookendish, just like a librarian does. If you don't, what I suggest is that you use a ruler, but you keep about, an 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit more when you draw your line, so that you have a little bit of white. Let me get that up just a little bit closer. You have a little bit of white between the edge and where you're going to cut. Now, that's why I like this little tool. I can actually leave myself, it's about 1/4 of an inch. I actually put my corners in here and I draw, and you can see I get a really nice 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to do it on this one that I drew by hand, just to show you. See, I actually got a better, so it's up to you. You don't have to have one of these, you just kind of have to have a good eyeball to be able to draw your lines. And as we glue this down, you'll see why. Okay, so the next thing I want to do once I've done this is I'm going to cut those triangles off, those corners. And this is just bookmaking 101. Okay, so the next thing that I want to go ahead and do is I'm going to use my table as my flat piece. I'm going to push pretty close to the edge and lift up so that I'm making a nice crease on my edge. Now, you can also go ahead and use your bone folder to make that pretty stable there. And then I'll do it on the other side. And I've gotten a nice crisp edge on my chipboard. So then I'll do it to my other two sides. So all of my sides are pre-folded at this point. So that's my bottom, that's my side. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to go ahead and take our glue, and we're going to do two opposite sides at a time. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to put glue pretty close to your chipboard, and then just like we do all our other papers, you want to put glue in that space. And again, I'm going to use my table to make sure I get a crisp edge. I'll use my hand, the warmth of my hand first. Now, the trick to this is, in these corners that overlap, you want to take your bone folder and kind of push towards your chipboard, but then roll it out so that the paper is actually getting attached to paper here. And I'm going to do it on this side also. I'm going to push it in towards my chipboard and then roll it out. Sometimes if you just pull, you'll actually pull your paper away from the chipboard. So it's just best to kind of roll those out. I'm going to do that on the second side. I'm going to go ahead and put glue right there in my corners. This would be a nice part-time job for people if you wanted to recover Bibles or old books that people have. This would be a nice little hobby kind of thing. There's a gentleman not too far from where we live who does this as a job. That's his career. Okay, so what you have is you've made yourself kind of a square edge for these. And when we pull this up, your corners are going to be covered too. Sometimes if you just cut them straight across the chipboard, your chipboard shows out through your colored paper. So let's go ahead and do the sides then. And what I do is I take my glue and I put it right up to my chipboard first of all. And then I go ahead and I fill in the rest of my decorative paper. I will use my table to push to make sure that edge is pretty square. And then I will use my hand to push it the rest of the way, and then I'll burnish. And I wipe away any excess glue. Let's go ahead and do the other side. And again, I'm going to use my table to push down and then out. Use the warmth of my hand. You can see me, I'm wiping away. I have this silicone pad underneath my work, and I keep wiping away any excess glue that kind of gets on there because I don't really want it to get on my pretty side. So when you look at those corners, let's see if I can get it. There we go. When you look at these corners, you've made a very beautiful corner, and all of your chipboard is hidden. It's covered, and that looks great. It looks like almost a professional book. We're going to do that to this is my front. This is the one I'm going to use for my front. So I'm going to put that aside, and I'm going to do that again. Now, when I cut this one, I didn't cut the white off because once it gets twisted around your chipboard and glued down, we're actually going to take another piece and cut nicely, and that will be covered. So I'm not too worried about the white on this for right now. So I'm going to go ahead and put the glue, first of all, on my chipboard. And again, I want to make sure and put the 5.5 up, or the 5.5 going across. I want to make sure my tops, so that's a top. And then I'm just going to center it as best I can. Use the warmth of my hand. I use it on the chipboard first, even though the warmth won't get through. Then I turn it on the paper, because the warmth of my hand will get through the paper a lot better than it does the chipboard. And then I use my bone folder to make sure and get the glue pushed, spread out a little bit. Okay. And now again, if you're really good with eyeballing, go ahead and eyeball. Don't worry about. And it doesn't have to be exact. The one that I showed you that was a little crooked, that would have worked fine too. As long as you have that, this is about 1/4 of an inch, I believe. Between your corner of your chipboard and your line, you'll be fine. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to give you a little bit of paper to spread over. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and cut these off. Okay, and you can see I wasn't even perfect when I cut, as long as I went ahead and had that white space on my corners. So again, we're going to go ahead and make our sharp edges. I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to start. It doesn't matter which ones you start with, because they all get made into corners. Do my glue. And again, I'm going to use my table to get my edge set. And I'm going to push into that corner and then rotate through. Push into that corner. This isn't terribly critical, but you will find you'll get a nicer edge if you do that. A silicone cooking mat would even work for your table cover. It might be I got this at IKEA, and it was only $8, so this is probably cheaper. I don't know that they have it anymore. It's been a while since I bought this. But a silicone cooking mat would work. Any kind of silicone, because it doesn't stick to your glue. Your glue wipes right off of the silicone. Now, when you're making regular books, we usually use book fabric, which has been backed, and I have some over there, but what I'm doing today doesn't warrant something as critical as book fabric. Let me get it and show it to you. It comes in a roll like this, and this one is 17 by 19 inch roll, and this is a navy blue. Is it navy or black? Oh, this is black. And basically, gosh, I hate to open it, but let me open it for you so you can kind of see what I have. This is really neat. It's fabric on one side, and then on the other side is a paper backing. And so you glue the paper backing, and you do it just like we're doing with the paper. This is actually something that would last a little bit longer when you use the archival book fabric. And that's what we do regular books with, something that is important to keep for a long time. So I'm burnishing everything down to make sure that it's down. The other thing that you might want to do is to go ahead and take one of the flat sides of your bone folder and just rub it across the edges nicely. It gives it just a nice crisper finish. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put these on, and both of these will get put on, but the first one we want to work with is the outside. And if you've put fabric on it, that's really great. That'll work just nicely. It'll give it just a nice kind of cute, and a lot of times you'll see books that have fabric on their spine. So I want to make sure that I have my tops going up on both sides. And it really doesn't matter on this because I didn't use it. I have them going sideways, so it's not a big deal. So I want, when I glue this, I want to know where my edge is, and I kind of want to butt it up against my book. And then I will lay this over, and you can do it this way, butt it up this way, and then lay this over. And again, these are going to get covered with other papers. These fun little papers here we're going to cover with. So the first thing you're going to want to do is, I don't want to put glue on the fabric because it does bleed through, and it will bleed through to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil, I'm going to push this up against there, and I'm going to lay this over, and then I'm going to kind of draw a line. I don't want to go too low, but I want to make sure that I know where my glue is going to go. So I'm going to go ahead and put glue on all of my edges, and then I'm going to fill it in. Okay, so I want to go ahead and make sure these are even, my top and my bottom, and then I'm going to go ahead and push this over. And I got just a little bit too much, but that's okay. And then I'm going to use my bone folder. Now be careful of your fabric, because if you get your bone folder under it, it will lift it up. Okay, so we have one end of our book finished. That's a little bit of glue. So I'm going to do the same thing to this side. I'm going to go ahead and push my book cover, lay this over, draw a line, and then that's pretty much where I want my glue to be. And it might go over a little bit, which is okay. You'll wipe it away with your fingers. It's a little bit harder with fabric than it is with paper. And then I'm going to do it again. I'm going to make sure my top and bottom are pretty even. And then I'm going to push my fabric piece over on top. I'm going to use my bone folder. Again, be careful with your fabric. If you get your bone folder under your fabric, it's going to lift it up. Okay, so we have the outer spine on. So the next thing we want to do is we want to put our inner spine on, but we don't want to glue this part, the middle part. We just want to glue our edges. So I'm going to go ahead and do one at a time. I'm going to put glue just from my score line out. And I got a little bit in there. And then I want to go ahead and kind of, do I have my tops going up? Make sure your tops are going up. Yeah. So I want to kind of make sure to center this in this area. And it is just a little bit shorter on both ends. Once you have it centered, go ahead and push that down. Use your bone folder to get it nicely pushed. And then flip this. Go ahead and put your glue on the other side. Push it down. The warmth of your hand will do a lot. Be careful of your fabric. And there we have our signatures in. Now, you might want to go ahead and kind of push those signatures into your outer so that they roll the same way. Otherwise, they'll try and dip in. And you can do that also by opening up your book and just kind of rubbing it, making it circular a little bit. There you go. And you can kind of see that inner is also curving the same way as your outer. So you've pretty much made a book. So the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and cover these. Now, I'm actually going to take measurements and I'm going to go over to my new cutting machine, but I want to go ahead and make this as close as I can. It's 6 by 5.5, so I want it just about 1/8 of an inch in. I will be right back. So I'm going to cut it 6 1/8 of an inch shorter than 6 and 1/8 of an inch shorter than 5.5. So I'm going to check my measurements, make sure yeah, that's just about perfect. Now, the other thing you might want to do, it's totally up to you, is you might want to soften these edges. If you have a corner rounder, you can use that. But I'm just going to soften them with my scissors. Just kind of like that. And then I am going to smudge these. I am going to smudge all of this, all 4 edges. Now, you're welcome to smudge this also, but you can do that before or after you put the inside paper down, or face papers. And so I actually want to take just a little bit off of this side. It's going to bind if I don't. So I want to put that as close to my edges as I can. Yeah, that's better. So I'm going to smudge this again. And then we just basically glue it down. I hope you're enjoying this series. It's almost finished. I'm just going to give you the measurements for the bigger journal. And you will make a soft spine and hard covers just like we did for this one. In other tutorials, I will show you how to do a hard spine. I was going to do it for this one, but I think if you practice this soft spine, then the next time when we get together to make a book, we can do the hard spine. Okay, so we have one of our inside covers covered, and that's basically our book. Now, I am probably going to put a ribbon around this so that it will fit nicely and stay closed inside of my box. But it's a coloring book. I will give you the measurements next time to make this book if you want to make the journal that will fit inside here. But I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a little pencil case and some other little boxes to throw in there so that she can keep her colors and her pencils. She can keep erasers and pencil sharpeners in here, because I'm making this as an artist box for a little 6-year-old. You're welcome to do either the journal with the measurements that I give you and then follow this tutorial to make it just bigger, or you can follow along with me and make it an artist's box also. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this. We're almost at 30 minutes, which is just about what I like to keep these videos at. They're not too much for you to follow. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed working with you, and I hope to see you again. Okay, bye.